This is Mr. Jones. He teaches English. Which grades?
11th and 12th.
11th and 12th grade English. So where have you taught before?
Previously, I was working at a big public school in Colorado, in Longmont, Colorado. It's about 30 minutes north of Denver, right outside of Boulder. And before that, I worked in a charter school in the Denver suburbs. And before that, I taught at University of Colorado while I was getting my master's.
This is Miss McGahren-Clemens. She teaches English. So where have you taught before?
The last place I taught was Mamaroneck High School, so just down 95, not too far away, but that was about 2 years ago.
This is Mr. Mirza. He teaches history. So where have you taught previously?
For the last 5 years, actually, I was in San Francisco, and I taught the modern Middle East and a course on Islam. And before that, actually, I taught for about 13 years in Westchester at a small school called Reform Cisco School.
This is Miss Welcome. She is our new Mandarin teacher. So where have you taught previously?
I taught, the last place is a college, and before that I taught in other private schools.
This is Miss Morosky. She teaches chemistry and physics. So where have you taught before?
Before I came to GFA, I taught at Joel Barlow High School, which is the high school for Easton and Reading. And prior to that, I taught at Hopkins School.
So what's the difference about teaching here?
I would say the biggest difference I noticed, even when I came for my interview, was that here it's cool to be smart and good at stuff.
One thing that I noticed that is different about GFA, and that takes me back to my first day here. When I arrived, a number of students came and introduced themselves to me, and that was absolutely wonderful. Gave me their names and welcomed me to the community, and every single day I'm reminded of how pleasant you all are here. It makes coming to work and coming to school and teaching really a enjoyable experience.
I think the biggest difference is that because it was a public school, the classes were a lot bigger, about 25 students rather than the nice 16 that I have here. And they tended to be more in rows, and so the whole Harkness table phenomenon has been a great thing for me, and really great to come and have it be more discussion based and everybody ready to go and looking around the table rather than out at rows and columns.
Well, GFA is special, really special, that the students are behaving better than other schools, and the kids are, well, they support the teachers. I find this really amazing.
GFA is very similar to Hopkins. Hopkins has like a slightly larger student body, like a bigger population, so more teachers and more kids. Barlow is a great school. The classes were a lot bigger there. So in terms of what I did as a teacher, I had more responsibilities in terms of more students.
Do you have any interesting hobbies or something your students don't know about you that you want to share?
No, I don't want to share, but I shall. I love to cook, and I'm very lousy at it. And so I manage often to prepare a meal that nobody touches. Separate from that, I love to play squash. Of course, you can't tell that by looking at me, but it's something I really love to do, and I do frequently.
Well, I grew up in a family of musicians, and so I went to lots of symphony orchestra concerts as a kid. I slept through more symphonies than probably I should have.
Probably what they don't know about me is that even though I pretend not to know math, that I actually started out in college as a math major and was much more of a science math person. And I ended up switching to English just because it was exotic in college and something I wasn't really all that into in high school. And so this has been a completely different life than the one I originally set out to lead.
Well, I like ballet, so I would like to be here. It's nearer to New York than my home, 1 hour, more than 1 hour nearer to New York. So I go to see ballet very often.
I like to read trashy mystery novels, and I do it compulsively and without pleasure.
I think they don't know that I really like to cook, and I attribute that actually to being a chemist and kind of being good at understanding proportions and how different amounts of substance mix together to make good things.
So do you speak any other languages besides Mandarin and English?
I speak Japanese. I lived in Japan for 14, 15 years. So.
Wow. So we heard that you went to high school with John Green. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, he is a young adult novelist, as I can see that you know. And he was a couple years older and a couple galaxies cooler than I. And his first novel, Looking for Alaska, which won some awards, was based on some events that took place at our high school when I was in 9th grade. And one of the main characters is based on a girl who was in my French class. And so when I first saw this book, my wife had brought it home from somewhere, and I picked it up and I said, "Oh, John Green, I knew. I went to high school with a guy named John Green." I looked at the back, and there he was. And so right then and there, I read the first page, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is sounding really familiar." And I read the second page, and before I knew it, it was 2 a.m, and I'd read the entire novel, and it was really quite a weird experience.
So you came here like partway through the year. How was that different?
Well, I'm sure it was different because I really had to think on my feet. You know, I didn't have the summer, I didn't know what I'd be teaching, so we pretty much had to land in it and really enter into whatever the students were doing, which happened to be, I think, Hamlet for the AP in the middle of that, and the 10th grade was World Lit. But the students were really great. I mean, in terms of just welcoming me in and including me in the conversation, I felt like I really was immediately kind of drawn into that whole Harkness community, and it has been really fabulous.